One thing about the Department of Homeland Security is they are not about to do a whole lot of talking. My name is Alicia. I'm a lawyer, not yours. And let's break down the raids of the homes connected to Diddy in Los Angeles and Miami. Now, I do want to get into this article discussing and detailing the federal agents' raid of the homes tied to Sean Combs in Los Angeles and Miami because I want to show y'all just how little, when I tell y'all that the Department of Homeland Security fed us absolute dust, they fed us dust crumbs. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Here's an article written by the New York Times. And if you scroll down, I really want y'all to see how carefully crafted this statement is. I'm screaming. It says, in a statement, Homeland Security said that agents from New York had executed law enforcement actions as a part of an ongoing investigation with the assistance of Homeland Security Investigations Los Angeles and Homeland Security Investigations Miami and our local law enforcement partners. That's it. That's it. That's it. Dust. Crumbs. Do y'all see how that tells us? Absolutely nothing, nada. So essentially what they've said is, yes, this is a part of an ongoing investigation. And this is right on par with what I expect a federal investigation to look like. Listen, a lot of times we see these local prosecutions where prosecutors and defense attorneys are out there doing interviews, press conferences, IG lives, TikTok lives, what have you, talking about the case. And the feds are not going to do that. They're going to compile their evidence. They're going to do their research. And the next thing you're going to hear from them is either they're going to file criminal charges against you or not. But don't expect to hear anything further until that indictment, that criminal charging document is filed and you are being escorted to federal prison or wherever they're going to escort you to, and you're waiting to be seen by a judge. That's how these cases work. The feds don't talk. They move. Getting raided by Coastal is crazy, especially a coordinated raid at that from Miami to Los Angeles at the same time. Like the Department of Homeland Security was not playing with this. But some legal pundits are saying that the raid is not that crazy, especially in light of the lawsuit filed last month by music producer Rodney Jones. The lawsuit contains explosive allegations. In the lawsuit, Rodney Jones says that Mr. Combs made unwanted sexual contact with him, forced him to hire prostitutes, and participate in sex acts with them. So a lot of legal pundits are saying, well, we shouldn't be surprised about the sex trafficking allegations because a lot of that was involved in this lawsuit, especially and also including the lawsuit regarding Cassie, where she was also talking about these freak off parties and these sexual acts that she was forced to participate in. I do want to flip over to the footage of the raids next. Before I do that, I do want to address a few concerns about whether the feds have a case or not. Look, as I said in the beginning of the video, we don't know. The feds haven't given us much information. Now, do I think there's some truth to the notion that whenever the feds come knocking at your door, whatever they said you did, you definitely did that shit? Sure, I understand why people say that. But I also don't think, and I know that the feds don't have a 100% conviction rate. Now, they do have a high conviction rate, of course, right? And if I had a police force, a whole police academy, all the investigators, all the resources, then yeah, I would think I would have an airtight, a really high conviction rate as well. That being said, if I was an attorney on Diddy's legal team, I certainly wouldn't think that this was a positive development in the case. I would at that point be on high alert that, hey, now I have a federal allegation or a federal indictment probably coming down the pipeline, and I need to prepare for that. So yes, certainly I understand the inclination to say, well, no, Diddy's done. He's going to prison forever. I do want to hold off on that because we don't know yet. Now, do I think it looks bad? Absolutely. You do not want the feds knocking at your door for any reason, especially not the Department of Homeland Security. That's crazy. But I do want to be clear that the Department of Homeland Security has been very tight-lipped about this investigation, and they've essentially just said this is a part of an ongoing investigation, which means that they could file charges, they could not. However, we do know, for example, that when a person's house is getting raided, typically, I'm thinking about RICO charges, right? Typically, charges do come down the pipeline later. This is usually a predicate act or an event that happens prior to a RICO charge being filed or prior to a criminal indictment being filed. So yes, I think it's reasonable to believe that a criminal indictment is going to pass down the pipeline. We just don't have that information yet. And now I do want to go over to the footage and let's talk through that as well. Here's some footage of the raid. And right away, you can see that whoever the law enforcement officials are in here are big business. They got the big guns. They got the armor on. I mean, this is almost something like you would see out of Narcos. So let's listen in.
Please. Of this. As you can see, potentially law enforcement officials and other officials just outside of a gate, this on a street near the Beverly Hills area. Of course, we're following it very closely on Live Now from Fox. And of course, we were watching this. We didn't know exactly what we were seeing at the time. So this is just a little bit ago as you can see a crowbar to get through this gate initially as well, the long guns and a multitude of people As you'll see, they'll zoom out a little bit just to see the amount of force they are using to get inside this home.
Oh
Of
my
course, the
God.
complex in which this home sits is a very expansive one for the American rapper and producer. You can see them check.
This is wild. First, look at all of the law enforcement officers trying to get into that home, the crowbar on the gate, pulling it open. You can tell they just did not know what they were going to encounter, or safety first, right? And they're always going to roll up, 20, 30 people deep. And probably the latter is true, right? They probably are always going to roll up 20, 30 people deep because they don't know what they're going to encounter. They don't know when they pull up on somebody's house, uninvited and unwanted, quite frankly, how that person is going to react. So that's why we see this large use of force here. Now, was it necessary? No. But of course, the law enforcement officials are going to answer, well, of course, we didn't know what we were going to get when we entered into that property.
Inside of a vehicle. We don't know exactly what is involved, if Diddy's even there. We don't know a ton of information about this at all, but this was dramatic video coming in of the Los Angeles home there, raided by Homeland Security. Some of those images there on the backs of them. We also saw other images. I want to kind of quickly move to what else we saw as people were led away, potentially in custody.
Wow.
Don't know who these individuals are, if they're related to Diddy in any way.
So I did see some people asking questions about whether the sons were arrested when they were in handcuffs. And I can't even I could talk about that for hours, because you guys have like unknowingly stumbled into this contested area of criminal law. And that's whether a person is being arrested or being detained. Huge, tons of case law there. But long story short, what law enforcement officers are going to say here is that the person was being detained and not arrested. So just being detained for the officer's safety while they complete the investigation, and the person's going to be free to leave after the investigation is completed. So that's a little bit more about why were the sons arrested. To me, I don't think the sons were arrested. I think that they were probably just detained during the investigation.
Yeah, when you see this number of law enforcement agencies coming together, making this type of raid to such a big, high-profile mansion like this, in a neighborhood like this as well, this is very thought out, methodical, planned out for days. So they base this on a number of information gathering that they've received and evidence, or what they're looking for. So clearly, this is not something they do lightly. They really go through the process of making sure that everything is ready before they conduct a raid like this. So yes, this took a lot of planning for all these multiple agencies to come together to actually now conduct a type of raid like this, as you're seeing right now with this street also.
Certainly. And there's also some footage that I saw of the law enforcement officials carrying out bags or documents or what have you from the home. And this is no doubt in connection with whatever they're investigating. I would love to see a warrant in this case. I want to know what the warrant outlined. But of course, law enforcement officials are saying that they can't talk too much about the case. Yada, yada, yada. So what happens now? When are we going to eventually see charges from the Department of Homeland Security, if ever? I don't know, right? My wager would be, if they are going to file a criminal indictment, they probably already have it drafted, or they already know what they want to put in it, just haven't published it completely yet, or they haven't put all the pieces together and they still want to conduct more investigation. So could this take years? Sure, it could. I don't think it will, though. I think that by the time they are doing raids and searching your house, probably the indictment is coming down the pipeline sooner rather than later. And to answer another question that was floating around in my comment section on TikTok and some of the other platforms, do I think that Diddy fled the country? That's another issue on which there are conflicting stories. On the one hand, I saw that Diddy's plane had taken off and was located the track somewhere in the Caribbean. On the other hand, I saw that Diddy was in Miami. This was during the raid and during the same time that the plane was in the air. I don't think for one moment that Diddy was going to be able to elude the feds and get out of the country. If the feds did not want Diddy to leave the country, Diddy would not have left the country, right? I don't think that's what happened. I don't think he was fleeing or would have been able to flee. As I've seen from the information, the photo of him or the video of him in Miami, it does not look like he fled the country. A lot of people were saying it looked really weird that he was not at the home when the home was raided. His children were there. Almost assuredly, though, if I am a parent and I know that the feds are about to raid my home, I'm not about to leave my children there just to get arrested, handcuffed, and maybe even harassed by federal officers, right? So probably, and I'm assuming that he did not know. So this falls in line with how the feds conduct their operations, in that they're not going to call you up and say, "Hey, we're headed to your house. Make sure everything's in order. Make sure you don't hide anything or burn anything," right? No, they're going to pop up on you by surprise and make sure that whatever evidence they're looking for is still there and not destroyed by you because you saw that they were coming. So that's my take on the Diddy homes being raided today as we know it. We just don't know a whole lot of information. So I do understand the speculation, why people are saying it looks bad. I do think it looks bad, but hold off. We don't know yet. And it'll be much better to make a better determination and have a more robust conversation when the indictment does come down, if the indictment does come down. Until next time, my name is Alicia Luncheon. I'm a criminal defense and personal injury attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. You can contact me at the link below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps reach a larger audience, and I will see you next time.